Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Erica, and today's video is episode 10, I believe, of my Would I or Wouldn't I series here on my channel. I did get this idea from Angelica Liramar. She is another wonderful, beautiful, incredible creator here on this platform. Of course, I will link her channel in my description box. Now, the idea is I grab 10 palettes at random out of my collection, and I sit down, show you the palettes, and then talk to you guys about whether or not I would or would not repurchase these palettes and why. So I'm going to get started with the palette I have on my eyelids today, which is the Yasmin palette from Miali Beauty. I did create this look for Leanna Dalton's Beauty in the Soul Challenge, and unfortunately this palette is no longer available. This brand is no longer in business. This brand started off as Blush Tribe, morphed into Miali Beauty, and now, like I said, is no longer available, which is a huge bummer. Now, this palette might still be available, I would say, maybe on Mercari or Poshmark. I have not been onto Poshmark or Mercari for a really long time, so I could be totally full of poo about that. But go check it out if you're interested in maybe finding this palette somewhere. I am a huge fan of this palette. The shades that I used to create this look, I loved. Beautiful mattes, like very pigmented, and they blend very well, and they mesh really well together, like work really well together. The shimmers in here are just beautiful. I will say, however, that the shimmers maybe are a little bit softer or more subtle in tone. You know, they're not super like bam, but they're just lovely. Very duochrome, multi-chrome, really nice formula. Just applies to the lid effortlessly, and had a lot of fun putting this look together. I honestly was not too sure how I felt about this look at first, but it's grown on me and I really do like it. So yeah, I'm really happy that I was able to get this palette before the brand completely went out of business. I got this on their going out of business sale for like 50% off. Super good deal. And if this brand were still around, I would definitely repurchase this palette. The second palette is the ColourPop It's My Pleasure palette, and this is one of my very favorite ColourPop palettes. The top three, I would definitely say. I love the color story. I love all the different options in here. I love the different textures that you have in here. And even though it's a smaller palette, 9 pans, I still think there's a lot of stuff that you can do with this palette. This is one of those palettes you can do like a 1 and done, 2 and done. You know, just throw one of these beautiful like multi-chrome, duochrome shimmers across your lid and you're done, or like a matte and a shimmer, you know, whatever. You guys could probably figure that out yourselves. But I just think it's lovely. I really do. I've really enjoyed playing with this palette. Like I said, it's one of my top 3 at least. It's got to be one of my top 3 ColourPop palettes in my collection. I would totally repurchase it. Then we have the My Honey palette from You Can Be, and this is a very affordable brand. This palette, I think I got it off Amazon for $6, $7, $8 at the most. Very impressed with how the palettes from this brand perform, this one especially. It's just a beautiful honey, mustard, gold, brown palette. And, you know, I do have the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette, so I don't know that I need both of them in my collection, but you know what? It's my collection. I'll do what I want. But I am really happy that I picked this up. It does work really well. I mean, if I think about it in terms of all the other palettes I have in my collection and the quality of some of my other palettes, I do have better quality palettes in my collection. I do. But I will say, for an affordable palette, this works really well. It's a great dupe for the Urban Decay Naked Honey. Absolutely. And would I repurchase this? I'm going to go be a little extra and say, yes, I would repurchase this. Then we have the Nabla Platinum Cutie palette. And I actually picked this up after seeing Angelica Liramar use this on her channel, and thrilled that I did. This silver shimmer is absolutely glam, in your face, bam, boom. It works so well. It applies so well. It looks so beautiful. You look like you have a silver disco ball on your eyelids, and the mattes in here work really well. The rest of the kind of satiny shades just are stunning. It's a beautiful, cool toned palette. I would totally repurchase it. The Ace Beauté Nostalgia palette, and I think this came in a BoxyCharm, right? I'm pretty sure. I think I purchased this on my own, but I was thrilled that it came in my BoxyCharm because I've used this several times and have been thoroughly impressed with the looks that I've created and how the shadows perform. Ace Beauté is a brand that I have what? 2 palettes, I think, from this brand. I would love to have more palettes from this brand, truthfully, because like I said, I was so impressed with how these shadows perform when I've used this palette. And I just think they put together really beautiful color stories, and I like their packaging, and yeah, I just think it's a really cool brand that I would love to have more experience with their palettes. I don't need to, I have a huge collection, but yeah, isn't that pretty? Beautiful warm tones in here, very fall and summer and spring and winter. I mean, you know, you don't have to base your looks on the seasons, but I do think that this palette definitely says like summer and fall. And even though I got it in a BoxyCharm, I would repurchase it. The Artitude Cosmetics Color Splash palette, and this was gifted to me from my dear friend Marina. And we've actually collabed using this palette together, myself, Marina, and Steph actually. And I was so thrilled and so touched that she sent this to me because it's a UK indie brand that I'd wanted to try and just felt very special that she was willing to send it to me. And I just love it. This is another brand I would love to try a lot more from. They make these beautiful Cake It liners. Steph and Marina use those often on their channels. So if you're not familiar with the Cake It liners from this brand, go check out their channels because you will find a handful, if not more, videos of them using those Cake It liners. So yeah, that's on my list to get some of those because they're just really easy to use and they come in all different colors and they're beautiful. Anyway, back to this palette. Stunning rainbow color story. Everything works really well in here. I love to support indie brands. So this was really fun to be able to support this brand by having this palette. Yes, this was a gift, but given my druthers, I would repurchase it. Then we have the Glam Light Michaela 1 palette, and I love the packaging. I do have the Michaela 2, and this front part broke, and all the gold sparklies fell out of that palette all over my floor. That was fun, and both cats were in here like, ooh, what's that? Is that a treat for me? I'm like, no, if you eat that, we're going to the vet to have your stomach pumped. I am thoroughly impressed with this palette and thoroughly impressed with this brand. This is yet another brand that I could go on their website and just lose myself in buying every single palette they put out. But yeah, really impressed with how everything that I've used in this palette so far has worked and performed. I haven't used all the shades yet. This is another palette I'm thinking of pulling in for like a 3 looks video. Because, you know, I really want to get more use out of this and show you guys what this palette can do, although you probably already know because you probably already have it in your collection. But thrilled that I picked this up, thrilled. I think this is the first palette I ever got from Glamlight and just fell in love with the brand. So yeah, totally would repurchase it. Then we have the Profusion Cosmetics Mattes palette, an all mattes palette here. Beautiful tones in here. Some cool and some warmth. And I picked this up from Fred Meyer, which is like kind of a drugstore, grocery store. It's kind of like if Walmart and Target had a baby, and they sell a ton of Profusion products. And you know, how I feel about this brand is it's kind of like the unsung hero of the makeup world, because I don't really hear a lot of people talking about Profusion as much as I think they should. But really a nice, affordable drugstore brand. They do have their own website, which I have to force myself to stay off of, and I really do, because cheap products and could buy the lot. I don't know that I've used all the shades in here, but all the ones I've used performed really well. Would I repurchase this? Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know that I would repurchase this because I mean, it's really not getting a whole lot of love in my collection anymore. And so, yeah, this may not make it through my next declutter. So I love it. I think it works really well, but I don't know that I would repurchase it. Then we have the Buxom and Ash K Home palette. Now this is the only palette I have from this brand. And this was gifted to me from my stepdaughter, Allison, for I think Christmas, a couple Christmases ago. And I have filmed with this palette before and I just love it. And I haven't used this in a while. This is another palette I need to put on my desk and add to the mountain of palettes that's forming on my desk and use it because I was really impressed with how it performed. The mattes are very pigmented and blendable and just, I don't know, apply easily. And I didn't have to mess around with making the mattes look decent in my look. And the shimmers are really nice. She actually went into, I think it was Ulta, and asked them to help her find a palette that is good for mature eyelids. And this was the one that they suggested. And I absolutely agree. Like the shimmers didn't add any texture, didn't make me look older. Yeah, you know, sometimes shimmers can do that. I'm really aware of that now, the older I get. Sometimes, you know, shimmers just add some stuff to my eyelids that I'm not a huge fan of. Just a lovely palette. And yes, this was a gift. So again, that's that weird thing with what I would repurchase it, but I would repurchase this. And last but not least, we have the BH Cosmetics Nonny palette. And this was released, I think in 2020. I think this was their 2020 holiday palette release. Now, the really sad thing, the heartbreaking thing about this palette is that this shade right here, Candied Fruit, which is my favorite shade in this palette, broke out all over the carpet in here. Totally made a mess, stained my carpet. I had to shampoo it, still kind of stained. I was so bummed out. I did a short talking about my top 5 BH Cosmetics palettes. And I don't know, I opened this up and I was like, had my head around the corner and I'm talking about the palette and I looked in the camera and I'm like, did that shade fall out? And sure enough, it was all over my feet, all over the carpet. I was like, damn it. So yeah, that was a bummer. But I think the rest of these shades are gorgeous too. Beautiful color story, lots of beautiful options in here. Amazing BH Cosmetics formula in this palette. Just a really fun palette to have in my collection. Super cute packaging. I would totally repurchase this. Out of all of these palettes, actually, I think this is the first palette I would repurchase. So there you have it. Those are the 10 palettes I grabbed at random out of my collection today to bring you episode 10 of my Would I or Wouldn't I series. I would love to know if any of you guys have these palettes, if you would repurchase them, why or why not. We can chat about that in the comment section. Episode 11 will be coming next month. I think I have enough palettes to do what I figure 20 episodes. Geez, that's a lot of eyeshadow palettes. I have a serious problem. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your lives to sit down and watch this video. If you're new here and you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing, smash the like button, and of course, comment down below in the comment section. I love to chat with you guys there. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I cannot wait to see you guys again in my next video. But in the meantime, please take very good care of yourself. Be well, safe, happy. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Drop it.